Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. And this watch puts to the lie the notion that Breitling has abandoned the oversized watch. Although the average size of Breitling watches has come down since George Kern took over in 2017, the reality is the company has continued to extend olive branches to its old guard of fans from the Schneider family era. So this watch right here was launched in 2024. It is the Breitling Super Avenger B01 Chronograph Titanium. It is an oversized watch in the traditional sense of being much bigger than it needs to be. At 46 millimeters in diameter, 15.4 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 54.6 millimeters, and then from 54.6 to 56.2 if we had the end lengths of the bracelet, with a lug spacing of 24 millimeters. It's not toy-like either. Despite being made of sapphire and titanium, it's still a 153-gram watch with all of the links in the bracelet. So it does have substance to it. It doesn't feel as light as some titanium watches can. It actually feels like it's made of steel, probably because of the size, which is too large for my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. That said, it's not as thick as you might think. It will fit underneath most cuffs. If your wrist is big enough for this watch, your cuff is probably big enough to clear it. It'll definitely fit under jacket cuffs. How big a wrist? I would recommend at least 17 centimeters circumference. Here's your down the barrel. Although with an 18 centimeter wrist or larger, game on. This is going to look perfect. The bracelet's a lovely piece. We've got this sort of professional style, to use the Breitling lingo, like a professional 3, where we have the diagonal orientation of the links, but the center links are the large ones. We have removable links that are fixed by screws, and then Breitling clasps just keep getting better and better. You can see internally, I'll do my best, there is some original packing adhesive on this, but move that sticker out of the way. You can see how there's a little trigger in there, and by pushing it, I have several different stops on a little rack with locking. So I have an incremental slider that's actually quite useful and makes it easy to fine-tune. The total distance is in excess of one removable link, so you do have quite a bit of adjustability. The clasp body is thick, and then we have a robust thick gauge swing arm. It's not a clamshell like older Breitling lock systems. It's a twin trigger, so you have quite a bit of security when it is closed. Here are your removable links. And then you can see the bracelet flares a little bit to the integrated end link. And then we have a couple of different finishes here. If you look, you can see that there's media blast, brushed satin, and polish. And you can see all of these things in juxtaposition from the bezel through the case band down to the chronograph pushers. It is a 300-meter water-resistant watch with a screw-down crown and a unidirectional rotating dive bezel. So though the Avenger is often thought of as a pilot's family, it is very much a dive watch as well. This is old-school Breitling bezel construction, captive bezels, where these screws are not just decorative, they actually fix the bezel to the case so it can't be snapped off by accident. And we also have the rider tabs, which were introduced on Breitling chronographs, starting with the Chronomat in 1984, giving us a little grip point for wet, sweaty, or gloved hands. We have a couple of different things going on here. If you look, there's actually a circular brushed grain across the rider tabs, but then if you look at the scale for the bezel, it's actually a radial sort of lapping machine type of grain, polished in profile. You can see we even have little bevels on the edge of the rider tabs, so the attention to detail is excellent. We also have a superb action. It feels as good as it sounds. It's 120 clicks, super precise, and it combines the silky glide of something like a Grand Seiko or a Rolex Submariner dive bezel with the kind of sharp detent and spring action you expect on something that is rugged, utilitarian, and built for work. And while this might be more than any diver needs, it is nice to feel that it's not too smooth. It does have a very distinctly mechanical character, and so does the column wheel. We'll get to that in a moment. We also have this little chimney, this polished ring between the bezel and the crystal. That's a little bit of a buffer to ensure that if there is a lateral hit, it won't be transferred uncushioned to the sapphire. It's a little bit of a safety measure there. The dial is matte blue with black registers. If you look carefully, you can see that the indices are actually a raised part of the dial rather than applique. And then outboard we have a rejo, which is sort of a sloped chapter ring that acts as a scale for the minutes, seconds, and chronograph fractions of a second. It's a 4 Hz beat rate, so this chronograph can resolve 1/8 of a second. You can see each of the registers is downwardly stepped and has an azurage or concentric pattern within it. We'll do a loom shot. And that is a very generous amount of lume. Not only do we have a huge bezel pearl that we can easily line up with the minute hand for diving, but chronoseconds, running seconds, chrono hours, and chrono minutes are all lumed. Surprising. Jumping back now, a couple of setting modes. One is the hacking function, stop the watch, set it to a reference time. The other is a quick set system for the date. And one thing I like here is that a pretty good job was done to ensure that the 3 on this counter is the same as the 3 on the rejo, is the same as the 3 on the date, is the same as the 3 on the bezel. A little piece of attention to detail that often goes overlooked. I will also mention that it is a instantaneous jumping date at midnight rather than a dragging date. So, as a chronograph, it's a vertical clutch system, which means when I engage it, there's no jump, there's no stagger, there's no extraneous motion. A vertical clutch also means that the watch will always reset precisely to the index at 60 because there's no play in the system. And for the same reason, you can just leave it running full time. No additional wear, tear, or hazard to the movement. Vertical clutches can be run continuously if you just like the aesthetic of running chronograph seconds. Also note that the second sand is matte finished. The column wheel action, the function selector, one of the best I've experienced, and considering this isn't anywhere near as expensive as something like a Dotograph or even a Rolex Daytona, it is quite impressive. It feels as though the tactile qualities of this might have been workshopped when the B01 movement was being developed, and it definitely paid off. Speaking of the movement, you can see protected down to 300 meters. We've got the movement that is Breitling's in-house caliber, automatic winding, 4 Hertz, 47 joules, 70-hour power reserve, column wheel, vertical clutch, hacking and quick set, and it is a 5-position adjusted COSC certified Swiss chronometer. You can see we've got a unique combination of a micrometric eccentric timing mechanism alongside Edachron, so that little screw is for super fine adjustments. Then next to that, the 2 keys, silver and gold, those are for timing and beat error correction, and then KIF shock protection, which is kind of a boutique-y alternative to Inca Block that I'm kind of surprised to see in a Breitling application as opposed to Jaeger LeCoultre. But it's nice to see. Not necessarily better, just different. And there is a lot about this watch that is different, especially from other Breitling watches being made today. In titanium, this is one for the old guard, so reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.